Sonya, Missy, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate your time. For those who haven't met you at a CertainPath event, expo training, each of you share your names, what your roles are at CertainPath, and kind of what that means, what you do. So, Sonya, we'll start with you.
Sure. Thanks so much, Bob, for having us.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. Yeah, I'm Sonya Fryar. I'm one of our coaches here. I work with all of our electrical, plumbing, and HVAC members, as well as one of the call center specialists. And so we work with all 4 trades, including roofing as well.
Yep.
And basically, we do help with anything on the operational side and anything on your call center side, and just do a ton of our facilitating and our telephone classes, dispatching classes, and basically anything a customer needs.
Good.
We're there for them.
And who's this partner over here next to you?
That's a partner in crime. That's double trouble? Yes. No. I'm Missy Jones, and I'm one of the facilitators and coaches for us here at CertainPath, and I do everything that she said.
I was going to say, sorry, just going to let it all out there.
And she does more, too.
Oh, yeah. You guys you teach a number of classes together, right?
Oh,
used to.
One, we always do telephone essentials and drain cleaning and dispatch for profit.
Yeah, that'd be a good combo, though, all center and drain cleaning.
Yeah.
We got some plumbers that are great on the phone.
So, yeah, there you go. You guys have both you guys are super busy always. What are some of the trainings you guys have been doing lately, helping members with? Missy, why don't you lead us off?
So recently we've just done a ops manager class. It's coming up.
Yeah.
I just did a couple of on-sites in August, and so went and did some service essentials and teaching them how to lead training meetings in the morning and so forth like that for some companies. And awesome. I love getting out there in the field with everybody and just helping them just be better at what they're doing.
I like it.
Yeah.
Sonya, what have you been up to?
Basically, pretty close to the same as Missy. Between coaching, we are doing some classes. Been doing several of the telephone essentials, dispatching for profits online.
Yeah.
Missy and I got to co-facilitate one just a couple months ago, a live one in person, which is a lot more fun. Online's fun, but in person's fun. Did a lot of activities with our call takers, our CCRs, our dispatchers, and just really helped them out, a lot. We talked to them a lot about not just making the phone right on the inbound, but also when you don't have enough that call volume, what to do and how to take that company to the next level. So it's been a lot of fun.
Good. You guys both, every month, executive perspective. I sit here and talk to members about it all the time and how it's the foundation, right? And their journey begins there. What's it like doing EP every month and getting to see the wide eyes and handle all the questions? What's your experience like?
I tell you, like the wide eyes, right? So when they come in on Tuesday versus where they're at when they leave on Friday, it's cool to see that transformation. I would say that sometimes people come in and they're questionable, they're scared.
Yeah.
They wonder, is this one really going to be the one that can help me and so forth? And then by the end of the week, they're like, oh, so fired up. And they're like, I actually have tools to take back to implement. It wasn't snake oil, and
yeah, right.
But yeah, I really enjoy doing EP every month because when I was on the service side of it, just like Sonya, the model worked for us, and it changed so many people's lives and advanced my career and so forth like that too. I mean, it's something that I can speak so passionately about because it works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Makes it easier that way. Yeah. What do you think, Sonya? What do you about EP?
Yeah. So one of the things I enjoy about it is, I know this will sound a little crazy, but the ones who know me already know I'm a little crazy. It's the roller coaster.
Okay.
It's the roller coaster. They come in the first day and you kind of see that anxiety built up and a little nerves. And again, kind of like the stakeholder, like, what did I sign up for? What am I getting myself into? Mm-hmm. And then about the second day, it's kind of brain overload.
Yeah.
Third day, super excited. So you just get to see all the motions of the roller coaster. And then fourth day, again, just inspired and ready, just hit the ground running. So it's really cool because that's the time we get that one-to-one time to really connect.
Yeah.
And, I think that's something that we're also different about here at CertainPath is those member relationships and the way everyone connects and networks. They have such a huge group of people to network with. It's just amazing. And then the best part, it's not actually at executive perspective. It's once they go back and, like Missy said, they use those tools, they plug and play. We make it easy.
Yep.
They don't have to recreate the wheel, and just getting around on their coattails and watch their path and getting to see their success. We're moms.
Yeah.
Because children are us. Because our mama's hearts.
I mean, that's what makes Expo so fun, right? Because you saw them at EP. You worked with them over the phone, maybe had some video conferencing, and then you see them in person, and you guys get the big hugs, and you get to hear how well they're doing. It's got to be a super rewarding experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, as you both had mentioned, you come from your service world, right? That was your first experience with CertainPath. Missy, we'll start with you. Kind of share with everyone your journey to how you got here.
Well, I guess I would say that my background started in swimming pool construction.
Oh, okay.
And I did that for a number of years and then made a transition into home building. So did home building for a number of years and walked home for quality control and all of that good stuff, and then headed up their warranty division and really enjoyed it. And then when the economy took a big nosedive, I got laid off with the vice president. So that was kind of rough. I survived some rounds of layoffs, and I always thought that I was going to be there. And so I happened to, my full-time job became looking for a job.
Sure.
Right. And I submitted a resume to Milestone.
Yeah.
And I got a call like 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, do you want to come in and talk? And I was like, sure, but I had just accepted another job at a law firm.
Oh, okay.
And my husband's like, what do you have to lose? Go in there, I'm like, all right, so went in and interviewed, and things just really kind of rock and rolled from there.
Yeah.
I went to work for Milestone for 9.5 years.
What were you doing there?
I went in there, started out in call center, and then from call center, it kind of started to develop and more under my belt. So call center, permits, warranty, happy calls, clubs,
all sorts of it.
and it just continued to build more and more and more. So,
and then when did you make the jump over here?
I made the jump 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the last probably couple of years of doing everything over at Milestone, it was always Gus was like, hey, help this member, right? Because he's so spread thin, call this person back. They need some help. And you know that because you did a lot of that too. But I found it really gratifying to be able to help people because I knew I could help them.
Right.
And it was just refreshing, And we had done a really good job at building Milestone, and it was just time to make that shift. It took 1.5 years.
Yeah.
Because him and I went back and forth about it. But I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. So I love it.
So how about you? What's your you've had quite the story as well.
Yeah.
Share with everyone.
Yes, definitely. So I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do when I grew up.
Okay.
Still figuring that out, but I know I'm passionate and happy about what I do now.
Yes.
So I want to do that. I started out actually working in insurance, so State Farm.
Okay.
Did a lot of customer service. Started out in claims, homeowners. So kind of got to actually climb some roofs and have that fun part. Moved from there into actually public affairs for a while. Loved it. Got to have fun with that. Moved into training and development and got to do some stuff there. So it was a lot of fun. And got married and moved a little further out, and it was a further drive. And I married an electrician. And so that's how I found the electrical world.
Yeah.
A lot of fun there for sure. And after divorce, I decided not to stand with our business.
Yeah.
So,
You married another electrician.
So, that's true. And I don't have a thing for electricians.
No.
Not at all. But anyway, so basically found an ad in the newspaper. Remember those days?
Oh, yeah. That's all I got here. Yeah.
Yeah. And went to work for a company, commercial electrical, did a little new construction, had 2 residential service vans set in the basically the parking lot. We made payments on them, and we dusted them sometimes. We didn't know how to market for residential service.
Yeah.
Had no clue, didn't know how to charge for it, didn't know how to price. And luckily a plumber, the owner met at church, told us about CertainPath, which was great, SBI back in the day. And I laughed and said, "Y'all are crazy, and this is insane." And I stayed there. That was that was the early 2000s, I guess, when we found CertainPath.
Yeah.
So it was really fun getting to be a member and getting to see how it was to implement the processes and do all that stuff. And then about 8 years ago, I jumped over to CertainPath. I had a great opportunity just to transition over. I was actually tasked to recruit someone for CertainPath. I did not recruit myself. I did not know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of false expectations put on me at that time. And I'm just kidding. No, I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. But, just a little bit along the path I was going to share is, I want to share with you when Missy came on a milestone.
Oh, well, share.
Yeah, I'm going to tell her about you. So I was over the call center, kind of started from zero until, it was smaller, getting there. And I went to go a different direction. And we tried to hire several people for Missy.
Yeah.
It was not good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying this was much better, but at least that's just kidding. No, she was great. Missy, I just want to talk about her dedication. When she was hired and came on, she came into a real mess. I'm going to tell you. A lot of people's feelings probably hurt. A manager coming in, working over them, this and that. And Missy's dedication during her 2-week notice, I don't know if you remember this, she came in every night. Imagine us 2 locked up training every night. We got close quick. So
I bet.
Explain how we became friends. So yeah. And it was just really awesome. When Missy came on board, man, she just took that baby to the next level. It was really awesome. She hit the floor running, and what she did and so quickly and the growth we seen from Missy was pretty phenomenal. I don't compliment her very often. I usually drive the bus over. So I felt backwards.
I don't know. I don't know how to deal with it.
Better play some music.
I might have to
dub this together.
All out completely.
Mark it on the calendar. One sweet thing. I'm good for the year.
Good, yeah, for a lifetime, actually. Yeah. Oh, that's great. No, explains why you guys are such good friends. I mean, you were in the thick of it, right?
Yeah.
And now you get to help businesses. You're in the thick of it again, and work together with training. And it's awesome.
Yeah. You get to travel cool places.
Yeah.
We have fun all along the way.
That's right.
Back each other up if one's out of town, got the other.
That's right.
They're pretty much going to hear the same thing no matter which one they get. They may hear it in a different way.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty direct, but yeah. Yeah. Now I want to dig into call center stuff, something I should do more. I don't. So I was like, I got to get the 2 experts up here to make up for lost time. When I talked to you guys, like, what should we talk about? And I think Missy, you said right away, let's start with culture, call center culture. And I'm sure that's really a foundational thing, right? So let me start with you. What in your mind does that mean, call center culture?
Think about the best thing you've learned on this podcast, or any podcast ever. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how life-changing was it? Did it change whether you could take vacations or where you vacation? Did it change how much time you spend with your family or what you could provide for your family? Now, I'm not saying learning new things that make a smaller impact isn't helpful. Of course it's helpful. So is hearing from people who've been in your shoes and who know what you're going through. It's why we made this podcast. And we hope you get new insights, tips, and techniques from it, as well as encouragement. But if you're looking for a truly life-changing transformation, then information alone isn't going to do it. You need a coach. I'm Rebecca Castle, CEO of CertainPath, and I know you need a coach because I needed one when I was in your shoes, running a home service business where I was the CEO, the head trainer, the ops manager, the salesperson, the call taker, and everything else. That's why I'm certain that knowledge isn't enough, because I'd been a coach to home contractors before starting my company. I knew all the stuff, the right things to do, the procedures and strategies, and I still needed a coach. Fortunately, I had one, so I was able to grow that tiny HVAC company large enough to sell it for life-changing money. And since coming back to what was then SGI and coaching other home service businesses through that same life-changing journey, I know what's possible when you're given the tools and a coach and a community. But you don't have to take my word for it. I'll prove it to you. If you've got 90 minutes, I have a free virtual starter session that'll beat any podcast or seminar you've ever taken for delivering truly transformative content. It's free, no commitment. We just want to share with you 4 major things that we do think are the first steps to transforming your business. And all you have to do is go to mycertainpath.com and book a starter session. Because as helpful as our podcasts are, I'm betting you're going to find our starter sessions to be the best first steps you can take towards true transformation.
We spend more waking time with the people that we work with than our own family. So my goal was to get it to be a place that people enjoyed coming to.
Right.
And having a lot of fun. You know that call centers can be really sterile and just hardcore. And yeah, we're going to work really hard, but we're going to have fun while we're doing it too.
Right.
You know? And I think that when you take care of your people take care of your customers, right? And it all comes back around. It's just, giant circle. And, I like to goof off, and it's hard for me to be serious. And so I like a lot of laughter, and I like people, upbeat, because if people are smiling, then that smile is going through the phone.
Right.
We're serving our customers at a higher level.
Yeah.
And, I want them to have the confidence and the success enough that they can support their own families, right? They can make a great career out of it. So I think culture is probably number one priority.
Yeah. Well, what are some things, how do you build that? So you say you walk into a member's business and maybe they have 3 or 4 CSRs, a dispatcher, and they look beaten down, right? Maybe this company has not been doing things the right way. And so you guys are tasked to kind of turn it around. What are some ways to start turning that around so it can make it a more uplifting place and they're happier? Like you said, it transitions through the phones. What would you recommend?
Well, first and foremost, I'd take a calendar, right? That has every month of the year. And I used to hang it up, and then I'd look at the calendar, and I'm like, all right, call centers, you can get burnout in there pretty quick. And it's one after another call, and it's taxing. I mean, you are like on go. And so you can build some stress when it's so high volume in there. So you've got to have outlets. And so when I take and build a calendar, I'm like, all right, we need a reset about every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll see just everybody's attitude just start to go downhill.
Right.
And if it gets too far down there, it doesn't rebound, right? So I look for all of the holidays, and if there was a holiday in that month, then I'd circle it, and we would plan like a company would bring the meat. Everybody signs up, and we do sides.
Okay.
We would do Easter egg hunts. We would go out and smash, what was it? Piñatas, and really stressful. Going out like,
yeah.
Hold on, we're taking a 5-minute break. Put the phones on after hours, and we'd go out and just smash up a piñata. We would do crazy hijinks stuff. We covered her entire car with Post-it notes. That was awesome.
Now tell them about the inside of my car. That was outside.
We filled it with peanuts.
Oh, my.
The packing peanuts.
Oh, my. Okay.
3 years later,
All the way up.
when I traded in, you still found them.
But so I'd take the calendar and I'd mark that out. And then I'd get into, okay, what's the other one that we're going to do? Where does it cost money, right? And so we got into $2 Tuesdays and $5 Fridays. So if you want it in, so $2 will get you your name in the bucket.
Okay.
If you wanted to put your name in the bucket 10 times, you're going to give me that amount of money.
Okay.
And so $2 Tuesdays, or we do $5 Fridays. And the cool thing about it is, I mean, get up in the morning, I'd start driving into work. It'd be 6 a.m. and I've got technicians calling me going, put me down for $20 because it started small and then it became company wide and everybody wanted, it's like, hey, I'm getting a bonus on Friday if I win. And so you start in the morning like really early and everybody is all pumped up about it and they know cutoff is at noon and there's no IOUs, there are no checks, it has to be cash, right? And so you just had the build up and everybody's talking about, man, if I win, you and I are going to the bar after or, talking about different, we'll go shopping.
Yeah.
And we always left it up to them to decide, do you want one winner, two, or three?
Yeah.
And, we had some pots, probably almost $3,000.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was payday. Everybody was kicking in cash.
Yeah.
We all wanted that extra chance. And so, like, the drawing would happen, was it 2 or 3 o'clock? I think it was 3. Yeah. That's okay. So you have, like, all of this excitement all day long. Everybody's smiling yet again, right?
Right.
Everybody's just tickled and making plans with what they're going to do if they win.
Yeah.
And then we announce the winners and they need like police escorts to their car. They're like, we're not going. I'm going myself, Yeah. But yeah, we would do all kinds of silly things. So I would take and fill in on the calendar.
Yeah.
Hey, we might have a $2 Tuesday or, something along those lines. And then there's a website of unofficial holidays. We've done some crazy stuff like talk like a pirate day. Now, you don't do it for your customer. No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But everything in the office, the first time I tried it, I'm like, all right, tomorrow's talk like pirate day, so just be prepared. And I went to Long John Silver's and I was like, hi, I went through the drive-thru and I'm like, can I get some of those, pirate hats? And the guy's like, okay. And so he like gives me, like this much. And I was like, can I have that many? And so he laughed and yes, they gave me a whole lot of money. So everybody the whole day walked around with pirate hats on, but people dressed up. They came in. I'm like, I didn't tell you had to do that, but everybody was like so into it. So we had all kinds of crazy dress up days because it takes the monotony out of it.
So when would you find time to do this? Just like at every, once a week, hey, what are we going to do next month? Or, you got to be intentional with stuff like that.
Yeah. We'd map it. I'd map it for the year.
Yeah.
And initially getting it started, right? And just here's what we're going to do. And then I'd start bringing people into, hey, we're getting close to potluck. So could somebody put up a sign-up board and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
To the point where you really got it going.
Yeah.
Then what happens? A committee formed and they took it over, a couple of years later. And it's nice to be able to get things started.
Yeah.
And then see them just run with that. We would decorate the office, Halloween by cubicle, who has the best. Kids would come around and trick or treat. Christmas was insane.
Yeah.
If you do decide to decorate for people's birthday the night before and you do helium balloons, make sure they don't have sensors that go off that sets off your alarm in the middle of the night.
Oh,
owners aren't happy about that.
Good nugget.
So it's just a good nugget there.
Yeah.
Forgot about that night. Yeah. That was a trip back to the office.
Yeah.
My favorite that Missy did, I think was Kentucky Derby, because if you can't tell, we like to gamble. Horse races around the
gamble.
Stick horse races and no one got hurt. A lot of flips and flops and around the corners.
What was it? Wait, stick
horse.
You guys were running around the office on stick horses?
It was an all-fitter. Everybody was involved. Everybody was involved.
So you had to pick your horse.
Oh my. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. So it livens up the office. People are naturally happy, and so they do a better job on the phones.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Bob, I was just going to share too, because you kind of asked to, how to start it out. My brain went somewhere totally different because I loved all the stuff Missy did, but that's stuff that takes time.
Yeah.
And you got to build it up, and culture's about feeling. But I was at an on-site last year doing a call center audit. And I'll tell you what, these people were not happy to be in there. And it was, not the fun and games. If I would have tried to bring it in, they would have thought I was even crazier. And it was really hard, but after we did some training, so we had fun, we made it very engaging. We definitely pivoted during that training.
Yeah.
They did not want to be in there. They thought I was a spy. And I thought the owner had brought me in as a spy, not to actually help them and develop. So I think once we got the trust, we kind of built it. I mean, we had fun. Yeah. Things we were working on in the call center, like empathy and reassurance and just things they struggled with, I'd let them write it on a note. And so we could go through it because they didn't want to share in front of each other.
Sure.
It's a different type of group because, sharing's caring in my world. I share everything. And I was like, just wanted up a piece of paper, just chunk them at me, guys. I let them chunk them at me, and then I would just randomly pick them up, and we worked through it. Something that was really cool after I did that audit, we did a little customized class that day, is I went back to sit in the call center with them. And all of a sudden, I kept telling them, guys, we got to find people doing things right.
Yeah.
And I heard the dispatcher go, Brian, oh my gosh, the way you just did that greeting for the first time. I've never heard that energy.
Yeah.
You did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Brian heard Sally. And it was, Sally, oh my gosh, you just gave reassurance. And all of a sudden, I started hearing them all.
Yeah.
I texted the call center manager real quick. I said, are you hearing what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
And they started doing it. And I love that because, it just reinforces that good behavior. So many people walk by, hey, Bob, good job.
Yeah.
What did you do a good job on?
Right. Oh.
Don't know.
Yeah.
So just reinforcing that good behavior to change that culture. And it was just making them happy. Instead of nitpicking all the bad stuff, let's focus on what's good. Yeah. So I think that's a good starting point too.
Sometimes it starts with training too. Like, let's figure out how to do your job in a way we're expecting you to. And then again, positive reinforcement. And it brings it all together. And then celebrating, have some success, and let's make it just lifts the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So
I used to have a thing called the treasure chest, right? And
the dentist office?
It's, well, at least,
I remember my kids.
It's not ours, but the same one.
Yeah.
It looked just like that.
Yeah.
So I went to the dollar store, and I would routinely have to restock it. And I'd get all like the squish toys and the bubbles and little dart guns and, all kinds of stupid, fun little toys.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of that random, if you're walking the floor and you hear somebody does, a great job, maybe it's just consistent in what they were doing, or maybe you just observe them helping somebody else.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I really appreciate that. Go grab something out of the treasure chest, and little dinky toys, but oh my God, there was like, check it out, whatever they have. I mean, it was like bragging rights. And so then it'd be funny, I could see from the office bubbles just, coming out of somebody's cube and, all kinds of fun stuff. But it was bragging rights. And, when you see somebody has something, you're like, well, I want that too.
Yeah.
What do? I mean, you just kind of pick up your own pace, right? So, we did all kinds of reinforcement behavior.
Positive behavior.
Yeah.
All about positive.
Absolutely.
And then everything else, again, training, but it all, and then keeping people accountable, right? But it all kind of falls together, right?
Yeah.
I love
Make it fun. When they enjoy what they do, they're going to do a better job at it.
Yeah. I like it. I want to talk about some kind of like foundational call center stuff, because I don't get into this stuff. And like, what are you guys recommending with members? When should they be answering the phones live? And if they can't answer it because they got one person, how do they manage that? Either one, everyone.
Sure. So yes, we have members of all sizes, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to customize it for that person. It's best if you can get someone live, but they got to be good at it and be trained at it.
Right.
A bad person can be almost worse than voicemail.
Right.
So, there's a lot of AI out there right now. We've got some great vendors that can help, especially those one person in the trucks.
Yep.
So when they can answer, they can answer. But if they're calling to an attic under a house and they try to answer that phone, it's not the best impression.
Right.
So once you get the right person, it's different. What I see as a big challenge with that is a lot of times a smaller company finally hires that first office person.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And they find the person that's very task-oriented, so they can do the accounting and the invoicing, the bookkeeping, and this side. But the task-oriented person is not always the customer-oriented person.
Right.
So trying to find that blended mix, I see that be a big challenge, if that makes sense.
Right.
You have to work through it till you get big enough and get to the growth, and then separate it out and put each person in the right seat. But I think one of the first things is just that first impression.
Yeah.
How do you sound? Missy just said it, the smile. You got to get a smile. What differentiates your company from any other HVAC company, roofer, electrician, or plumber out there?
Yeah.
What makes people smile?
Right.
And they want to do work with you. How do you give the reassurance? How do you show empathy? Asking the right questions so you are setting the dispatchers up to set the techs up for success. So they know which job. And I've been through a lot of, like Missy, customer service trainings through the year.
Sure.
The one thing I see a lot of miss is how to book that call for dispatching for profits. They tie in together. Everyone thinks it's just on the dispatching side, but there's all starts on how you schedule, being true to priority schedules, knowing how to overbook. There's just so many steps, that we go through, but I don't want to go through in great detail because I know Missy's got stuff to add.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. When do you hire call center people as quickly as possible, right? And obviously with demand, strategic, what does your call volume look like on Mondays in the morning versus Monday afternoon versus Wednesday or Thursday? I mean, you've got to strategically put people in place to handle that call volume, But when I go back to thinking when to hire, people, I always get asked, Missy, did you prefer people with call center experience?
Mm-hmm.
And my answer is always no.
Yeah.
I want somebody that is humble and hungry and driven and wants to do a great job.
Yeah.
Because the one thing I can't do is I can't teach you to be nice to people, right? So you either have the customer service skill set or you don't.
Yes.
So, if they can come in and just have a flowing conversation, that's a great start. I might give you an invite to come back and sit along with us in the call center and see what it is that you'd be doing. And it's a two-way street, when you interview. So we just kind of put them in there and is this person right for this family?
Yeah. Just like we tell with technicians today, it's all about their personality and ethics. Same thing with in the call center, right? It's the right people. We can train them up.
Yep. Yeah. Just piggy off, because when you said hiring, made me think of it. I want to share a story that you started. Bob, I wish you would have done this like 15 years ago when Missy and I first met. We were really skinny. We'd been great on this. But I want you to know we gained weight because we are company people.
That's right. You're dedicated.
Right? You know what's going with this.
We always pop on you guys.
I'm not sure yet.
So we're dedicated. So what we did for the company, being company people from our heart.
Oh my, what is going?
We had to go to places to eat where people had really great customer service.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, you hit them in the drive-thru. You'd hit them at the front counter, different hours, and see how they were dealing with different rush hours. I'm being serious for a moment.
Yeah.
Man, this poor barbecue place. I still didn't want to eat barbecue this day because Missy stole 3 of their people.
Oh, really?
I still said barbecue for me. You had the breakfast taco. You had to have the lunch. And then all of a sudden we had to start going to dinner too. And they didn't like us. Of course, Chick-fil-A was the best still from our customer service program. But no, it's just playing there.
Yeah.
But we're running it out. Yeah, but I mean, it was retail, it's restaurant, was whatever, though. I mean, when you found that great customer service, you got to have that card handed to them.
Right.
If you're tired of working crazy hours.
Right.
If you can deal with people in person, I think it's easier on the phone.
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, you got to listen to tones versus seeing body language.
Right.
But, yeah.
Those are good nuggets. I like that. Obviously, they can't come in and hit a home run. It takes time, right? They have to learn the job.
Sure.
What's the proper way to onboard a CSR, so they can be successful once they're on their own?
Map it out, right? So throw it all down on a calendar. We bring everybody in with 90 days in mind.
Yeah.
You're going to make it or break it by the end of that. So, just setting that course. We were real big on working from checklists.
Yeah.
So you had a daily checklist, and basically the daily checklist says, here's everything that you have to get completed today on this, wonderful Wednesday or whatever it may be, day of the week. All of these things have to be done before you go home so business can continue to move forward.
Right.
So nothing else but right here.
Right.
Then if there's still free time and, ask us if there's anything else to do. So that kind of kept them disciplined, but at the same time, that's where we would start our training. Right. You need to know how to do each of these items really well, understand why we do them, and so forth like that.
Yeah.
And move them around different people in the office as well to see what everybody's doing. Let them do some ride-alongs with the technicians.
Yeah.
And just, inoculate them well, and you'll find very quickly, are they going to make it or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you know if someone's not going to make it? What are some telltale signs?
So one thing that drives me up the wall is people coming in late.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Right? Because the people behind them may be waiting, and it's frustrating. And to me, it seems like a lack of respect for your coworkers if you can't get here on time to relieve them.
Yep. For sure.
So I have a real short wick on that one.
Yeah.
But it's attitude. Yeah.
Right.
Some people will interview really, really well.
Yeah.
And then when they get comfortable, they get in that seat, and it's just like, oh, no, you're not talking to our customers like that. Pick it up. We didn't tell you to change script, right?
Right.
And that, I will say, that's something that I always reminded them of. Hey, we're running a model, and the model is intended to be done a specific way.
Yeah.
Because it's built with all kinds of strategy in there so we can win the opportunities.
Right.
And so, and I would put this up front, in that interview process, and just say, when you come in, you're going to follow our way.
Right.
If you start deviating from the script and so forth, I'll let you know, but that won't work for me.
Right.
And so when I'd hear people start going off script and trying to do their own thing and stuff, I'm like, nope, we offer one company experience. No matter who answers that phone, we all do it the same way.
Right.
So you can either fall right back in line.
Yeah.
Or
set the expectation.
You'll be, from the get-go.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've told them, if you deviate off of that script, that'll get you right out the door very quickly to a full-time customer. So,
I love that, to a full-time customer. Okay, we covered kind of the onboarding. What are some things they get you out the door right away? What's ongoing training look like for a CSR? Like, what do you guys recommend? Because I don't feel like it happens much, if at all, in lots.
True.
So what do you guys recommend?
I think a minimum at least once a week. People with their technicians, you could ask, how often do you train?
Yeah.
And you'll hear once a week, twice a week, every day.
Yeah.
You ask, when do you train your call takers? And sometimes we get lucky and hear when they started.
Right.
And that's kind of it.
Right.
So, if you remember CertainPath, of course, we've got it all pathed out for them. So it's super easy for them to plug and play, like we said from the beginning.
Yeah.
But if not, you've got to be listening to your people. You got to sit with them. You got to do skills practice. You've got to skills practice to see how they do it. You've got to work on so many different things. It's, do they realize they've got to say the customer's name a minimum of 3 times? Do they know the power of the pause? Can they speak genuinely from the heart?
Yeah.
I had a great mentor here for a long time, Paul Riddle. And Paul Riddle always said, as long as you have it here, as long as you have it here, you'll have it here every time.
Yeah.
And that's right there is a lot of what I look for. Seeing how observant they are. That's another thing. And then this kind of goes back to the hiring, but it's still with ongoing training is a lot of times our call takers do have big customer service hearts, which you want. That's great for inbounding.
Right.
Outbounding is a big part of our industry today.
Sure.
And so sometimes you're looking for those different personalities because a lot of our customer service hearts, it'll sound silly to us people that are a little bit more direct, but they have a hard time making an outbound call.
Oh, yeah.
They feel salesy, this and that. So you've got to get them comfortable and make sure they have the confidence that comes out in their voice. I think that's big. And then a lot of just inspecting what you expect. I mean, we talk about that all the time, but are you listening to recorded calls? Are you listening with them? Are you coaching them? People don't understand the difference between coaching and bossing too.
Right.
You've got to coach and help everyone get better. You got to coach them up. If you don't coach them to take your place, how are you ever going to take off or move us along?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big deal.
And coaching, it's being through positivity, wanting to help be reinforcing, not, like you said, it's not beating them up. It's a big part of it.
Sure.
When is the right time? Because again, we deal with a lot of smaller guys that there's one person handling all calls, all the dispatching, right? When's time to have that dedicated dispatcher, split it out, from that dual role?
I would say, we have to look at our labor burden and make sure that we can afford to put another head in the office.
Yep.
So that's a big indicator. Having one person in the office supporting, we'll just say like 3 trucks, gets pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So about that time is time to bring somebody else into that office. When do roles start to silo a little bit more? As you grow, right? The more trucks you have on the road, as you have more trucks on the road, then everything exponentially increases.
Yeah.
There's more payroll, there's more packets to build, all the duties, right?
Yeah.
So when things start to feel hard and difficult to do business with yourself, that's just a pain point. That's an indicator it's time to make a change. Right?
Sure.
So, and about that time is when everybody starts saying, hold on, we got to stop and look. Like, we think we need somebody else, right? Yeah. And especially in the call center, if you're missing calls, or you're not getting to those calls quickly as they come in,
right,
then, your average customer thinks about hanging up on the 3rd ring.
Right.
And we know how much money it costs to make it ring.
Right.
So we need every opportunity as well.
Yeah. When you're thinking of putting someone in that dedicated dispatch role or maybe part-time and then eventually take it over, what are some traits that person needs to have to succeed?
They can't wear their feelings on their sleeve.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds silly probably, but, technicians have a hard time. They're out in the climates. It's cold. It's hot.
Yep.
They're going through attics. They're going into houses. And a lot of times they're frustrated. They vent. They may just got the door slammed in their face and, who knows?
Yeah.
And sometimes that tone of voice can come out. And a lot of people can take that very personally.
Sure.
So that is something I think for sure, not wearing that. I like very detail-oriented. One of my things I used to do when I hired dispatchers is I asked them, what do you do as a hobby? Do you like puzzle games? And I always butcher the word because everyone calls it different, but Sudoku. Oh, I heard I like Sudoku, and they could find that missing piece and moving it. They were great at managing a dispatch board.
Yeah.
Because it's not, most people we find, I think you'll agree, they schedule a call, they put it on a tick. And then when that board's full, now let's just go to the next day. And they're missing all those opportunities.
Yeah.
Because they're not looking, again, dispatching for profits and looking at that true priority. So when you can find the person who's really strategic, okay, one call at a time, let's see who it is, and be prepared because their schedule may completely change because you never know when that wrench is going to get thrown in.
Yeah.
I like, just like Missy, though, you guys start out with the combo, and then I like one of each, and they back each other up.
Right.
And then as soon as you get to 2 CCRs, I like the dispatcher to move between the field and the manager.
Yeah.
And a CSR and a dispatcher, they are not the same personnel.
No, yeah,
right?
For sure. Yeah.
And so I would say that you got to hire for different, or if you're bringing in somebody that will eventually be your dispatcher, they still have to be able to back up the CSRs, right?
Can't be angry on the phone.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, what are some backgrounds, though, when you said you were hiring dispatchers? Well, we talked about looking for CSRs, and you guys just had to run up the company card at Chick-fil-A. And what kind of backgrounds, though, for dispatchers that seem to marry well to that role?
I never looked for dispatching on their resume, unless they were in the trades.
Yep.
And if they were in the trades, how did you dispatch? I like to hear it.
Yeah.
And few trades company dispatch for profits, but you didn't find it very often. I'd rather have a green person in training.
Yeah.
Detail-oriented, good attitude. It's about hiring off your core values.
Right.
So many people say they do it, but they can't even say their core values, but looking for those people that follow that.
Okay.
And just very detail-oriented. Again, don't get their feelings hurt easy. Positive, too, because you need someone, whenever those techs do have that bad attitude, that can navigate them, right? And change their headspace and motivate them.
Right.
And just really set them up for success. And the person who can be genuine with the customer, again, detail-oriented, because they've got to be confirming that address. I know a lot of people like technology. Technology is awesome. It's an accessory, too.
Right.
You can't take away from the personal touch. And setting that tech up for success just by complimenting them and listening for those little cues from that customer.
Yeah.
To help that technician out as well. And even as they get I think more advanced, and this is probably more on the call taking side too, but even start to learn product, just to plant those seeds, like our club memberships or product, you can really make all the difference. Yeah.
What, sure. When you bring someone in, whether they're brand new to the company, fitting a dispatch role, or they're pivoting from a CSR to that role, what's the training look like for that position? How do they understand how different priorities levels and what certain technicians do better than others? So what does that training look like?
I think that really kind of starts back with onboarding, because when we were both on the service side of it, we were very into cross-training. Like, everybody had to be able to jump in seats,
right,
and run it, in case somebody's out, or, sometimes crazy things happen, or you have a weather event and people can't all get into the office.
Yeah.
So we have to be able to jump in and go. I think not only teaching them, here's how we answer the phones, here's what we say and why.
Right.
I think that the other part of that is testing them out, making sure. So I'm going to show you how to do it.
Okay.
And then I want you to do it, and we'll talk about how well you're doing and where we can continue to work on to improve.
Yeah.
Until you check out of it and you're confident in that. And it's a transfer of ownership.
Right.
Like, how you feel about it. Yeah. Good. I think you're doing awesome.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Are you ready for ownership of it? And they're like, oh yeah, no, I got this.
That's great.
You don't need anything else from me? No, I don't. That's cool. Then, ownership transfers at that point.
It offers right along, it seems.
Yeah. And we just train them off the checklists. There is time where you want to teach them, like, for instance, plumbing 101 or electrical 101. Because you've got people that could be very green.
Yeah.
Some people owned houses, some people lived in apartments, and some people still lived at home with their folks.
Yeah.
So there were people that didn't know what a panel was, and we know that you hear the word panel and there's an issue, you get excited, right? Because you're like, that could be a good call.
Yeah.
But in all actuality, if they're booking calls and they don't understand what a panel is, how are they going to get excited and be like, oh, yeah, no, we'll definitely get out there today, right? So we try to really, not to where they could ever troubleshoot over the phone, because no.
Right.
But we wanted them to understand what they were talking about.
Yeah. So
we would take them through some pretty extensive show and tell trainings. We go to the training house and walk them through, and this is what we're talking about and stuff like that. And they love that, and it's not just once you get them through the training, then there's some key highlighted pieces you want to go back and do it again.
Yeah. Because
people's bandwidth is different all the way through the training process.
I like it. That's good stuff.
Hey, Bob, real quick too, because Missy just made me think of something else. So she was talking about show, tell, do, because that's so important, right? We always talk about, I think it's important too for companies to remember how many companies you talk to and they say, man, I wish I had SOPs. Yeah. Large companies.
Yeah.
Especially for these small people, they start out, when you show them how to do it, have them take notes.
Yeah.
Then give them time to create that SOP on how to do it. If you don't give them time, it feels like it's not a priority because they're trying to learn so much. You've got to give them time. Plus, it gives you time to go do other things you're not cross-train them on.
Yeah.
After they type it up, then give it to them to do.
Yeah.
Right? So you told them what to do. You showed them what to do. Now they're going to do it. And then you go back and check it. When it's great, you go, hey, good job. Keep it up. Guess what? Now you can go to the next task.
Yeah.
And keep repeating that. And when you start that with the first person or revising, you got SOPs built for everyone. So, and if they don't work out when you're starting out training, you got your SOPs for your money.
Yeah.
It's just missed. So as you're talking about that, I just think that's good for people to realize.
That's great.
Because everyone says, I don't have time. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really simple when you do that.
Think about the best thing you've learned on this podcast, or any podcast ever. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how life-changing was it? Did it change whether you could take vacations or where you vacation? Did it change how much time you spend with your family or what you could provide for your family? Now, I'm not saying learning new things that make a smaller impact isn't helpful. Of course it's helpful. So is hearing from people who've been in your shoes and who know what you're going through. It's why we made this podcast, and we hope you get new insights, tips, and techniques from it, as well as encouragement. But if you're looking for a truly life-changing transformation, then information alone isn't going to do it. You need a coach. I'm Rebecca Castle, CEO of CertainPath, and I know you need a coach because I needed one when I was in your shoes, running a home service business where I was the CEO, the head trainer, the ops manager, the salesperson, the call taker, and everything else. That's why I'm certain that knowledge isn't enough, because I'd been a coach to home contractors before starting my company. I knew all the stuff, the right things to do, the procedures and strategies, and I still needed a coach. Fortunately, I had one, so I was able to grow that tiny HVAC company large enough to sell it for life-changing money. And since coming back to what was then SGI and coaching other home service businesses through that same life-changing journey, I know what's possible when you're given the tools and a coach and a community. But you don't have to take my word for it. I'll prove it to you. If you've got 90 minutes, I have a free virtual starter session that'll beat any podcast or seminar you've ever taken for delivering truly transformative content. It's free, no commitment. We just want to share with you 4 major things that we do think are the first steps to transforming your business. And all you have to do is go to mycertainpath.com and book a starter session. Because as helpful as our podcasts are, I'm betting you're going to find our starter sessions to be the best first steps you can take towards true transformation.
You mentioned outbounding. It is radically different than inbound, right? I think I've heard of more and more members, they're splitting those roles. Like they're finding people that just out.
Yeah, full-time outbound.
When is it? I'm a small company. I'm growing, but when's the right time that I can actually rationalize having someone just call out for club members, call out for those estimates that were left behind, call out because, invoice or service fee only. Anyway, so you know what I'm saying? When's the right time to split that out?
I think it's individual.
Yeah.
It depends on what trade you're in, how you're structured.
Right.
What does your call volume really look like? There's different, non-negotiables that you have to call out on that have to happen every day.
Yeah.
And then you can add that additional, mining of data and so forth, looking for more opportunities, calling out on those, putting them on the books and stuff. I just believe it's an individual basis, right? But the person that outbounds is not typically the same person that's going to answer your phone.
Right.
Different personalities.
Yeah, salesperson, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Just interested. So, do you have any thoughts?
No, I was just going to say it's definitely trade specific. I think HVAC and roofing needs it a lot earlier on.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sometimes in plumbing and electric, it's kind of combined. Now, more of them are going to more of that sales install model.
Yeah.
But no, I think the important part is a lot of times when the call takers are doing it, again, they don't like it.
Right.
And they do come to you quickly and say, hey, this doesn't work. And people listen and they go, we tried outbound calling, doesn't work. To do it and do it effectively, I think you got to make sure you're tracking properly.
Yeah.
How many did you call? How many did you speak to? How many did you book? And then what was your return on investment?
Yeah.
And add it up. I had a member the other day that says, y'all keep saying we have to outbound call. Yeah, it doesn't work. And I said, well, how many did y'all do? They said, we did 18 a day. So 4 people in our call center did 18. And I said, okay, how many did you speak to? 2. So, talking to a customer, how long did it last? Well, I'm not sure. Good call goes 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Call with objections, 5 to 7 possibly. So I said, I'm going to give you benefit of the doubt. 10 minutes for the 2 you talked to. Yes. So, all right. So we had 16 more calls. How long does it take to leave a voicemail? And we estimated about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
8 minutes plus your other 10. I said, so you mean to tell me in 18 minutes, miracles didn't happen? It turned around at your company? Really? I think that didn't work.
Yeah.
How's that work out for you?
Right.
So, I mean, I think no matter if you don't want to do it, you got to make sure you track it because that's where it is. And, we have KPIs for that. And we have scripts.
Yeah.
People, because they don't know what they have.
Video scripts.
Even strategic voicemail scripts. So there's tons of stuff for them.
Yeah. I love it.
But if you don't practice 10 times harder, it never makes the game easy.
That's right.
So,
Practice makes permanent.
yeah. And I absolutely believe that there is a lot of of practice before you throw them on the phone to start that outbounding, right? Because we want them to be confident and successful. So let's practice and get rid of all those nerves and find your flow.
Right.
When you find your flow, then that comfort level is right there and you're just able to execute those calls.
Right.
Down practice with the customer.
A big part, obviously, of making sure your call center, if they do their jobs right, is, compensation, if they're incentivized for it, right? What are some ways that you recommend to kind of incentivize your call takers and to do what they should be doing, right? But you roll out a new comp plan, didn't you, recently? Maybe you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's really more for our larger members, and Missy's got some good stuff, too, from the small to medium. I think it's the spiffs and things. But basically, it's an incentive plan, so it's no more hourly.
Yeah.
We had several companies that got tired of walking to their call center and hear the phones blowing up and their call taker saying, hey, phone's ringing again. And that's the number one job. It costs so much to make that phone ring.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a compensation plan, and it's based on every inbound call, every call you book, every club membership you book. So every little item you do in task has a set dollar amount, basically. And the people who do really good at their job and very intentional, and they're fighting for that call, which you want, they're seeing, I don't know, about a $5 to $7 an hour average range for the companies that have been doing it.
Yeah.
So we've had some really good numbers. Now, you don't like doing your job. You try to hide. You let everyone else get the phone call. They may go a little broke, and they may not work out a long time.
Right.
But I think to be able to support that, you do have to make sure you have enough call volume. But it does pay you an outbound call.
Yeah.
So it does it. So it's, hey, if you want to get paid, you got to get these calls.
Yep.
I know Missy's got some good stuff on hourly and spiffs and.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the comp type pay.
Yeah.
But I look at it a little differently.
Yeah.
I look at it, I go back to culture, right? We're going to work really hard. If you are a great leader of your team, then you're out there with them.
Yeah.
You're motivating them. I want them to, hey, we've got goals that we have to hit. If we hit these goals, then we're putting money in a pot, and that's going to be divvied up, right? Share numbers with them every single day so they know where we're at, who's booked, who's having a strong week, who might be tapering off for whatever reasons why.
Right.
Constantly listening to calls. I think if you're there in the thick of things, leading your team, that, compensation can also be run other ways. I struggle a little bit about per booked call.
Yeah.
Because I want people to book, I like to look at it as a composite score.
Yeah.
So just because you have a really high booking rate doesn't mean that you're the best person on the phone.
Right.
That may mean that you'll book anything and everything without qualifying it because you're getting X number of dollars per call.
Sure.
So selfishly, they're just doing what they need to do so they can put money in their pocket.
So this stuff to be managed. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you look at it more composite scoring, okay, you might have somebody that has, a 95% booking rate and their cancellation rate is at 17%. And then their average ticket is really low, below the minimum, right, that your techs would run. But then you look at the other person and maybe they're at a 84% booking rate. Yeah. But every time that person's on the phone, they have a less than 5% cancellation rate. But their average ticket is through the roof.
Right.
That's your best CSR.
Right.
Right. So you really kind of have to dig into those numbers and so forth like that. And when you share those numbers, the only people that don't like numbers being put up are the ones that are at the bottom.
Yeah.
Right? And so now all of a sudden it's like you can't hide if it's all put out there.
Yeah.
So then the team starts, holding each other accountable.
Sure.
Like, what are you doing over there? I answer the phone, and all kinds of, I think, healthy competition. But, people realize real quick if they're going to make it and stay on the team or not.
Yeah.
Sure. If they're not willing to work as hard as everybody else.
Yeah.
So
good stuff. We, we're talking about a lot of, adding a CSR, adding a dispatcher, but at some point we're a growing company. and when is the right time to add a call center manager? So I'd love to get your insights on that, because we have a lot of companies that are growing fast, and all of a sudden, let's get a service manager. Let's do a separate installment. And then they're like, oh, wait a minute, let's call on call center. So anyway, I'd like to get your insight. What do you think about that? When's the right time?
I'd say that's always a great question, because I can't tell you how many times we say, who manages your call center? Well, I don't know. I guess I do. And it's scary. I think it makes sense early on. Usually the manpower rule of thumb, I think it says, what is it, like 5 to 7? You've got to have someone managing and training them before that.
Right.
You just do. It doesn't mean that they're full-time just management. They may start out wearing multiple hats.
Right.
There's probably still taking calls or doing that until they grow into that bigger position.
You've identified the person.
Yes, but you got to definitely, because
once you put a service manager in place, you need that CSM in place.
Yeah.
You do. And there's just so much once they get larger they're going to be doing. Missy talked a lot about tracking average ticket per call taker, which a lot of people don't do.
Mm-hmm.
But watching call queues as you get your more advanced phone systems and how long they're logged in and how long phones are. There's so many different analytics. You look at a totally different version when you get a true full-time call center manager versus someone that's still actively doing the role in call center. So it's totally different, I think, as the company grows.
Yep. I know that.
Yeah.
Class that we are actually building for call center management. That's one of the things that we look into is when you have reporting capabilities and you're able to see your call queues and the calls coming in and so forth like that, the information it'll tell you about how effective you are or are not on the phone is really mind-blowing in a sense, It can help you manage your team significantly. It'll help. All of that data will tell you, here's your high times, your low times, scheduling changes and everything like that. And that's one of the things that members really want to learn more about as they're growing.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that we're working on is kind of mapping through that and how to read those reports, how to create hunt groups and directories and all of that kind of stuff. Just making sure that you're, sending traffic in all the right directions.
Right. So that person that, maybe it sounds like it's mostly an internal person. You're like, okay, we're going to start tasking you with this kind of a management type role. What kind of qualities does that person have? What are you looking for that CSR, or maybe it's a dispatcher? Like, you have what it takes to be a manager.
Self-starter for sure. Right?
Sure.
They're just going to jump in and, something needs to be done. They're on it.
Right.
Get it taken care of. Constantly, they need to be looking for ways to improve.
Yeah.
Right? Updating, if you will, when you talk about SOPs or just processes and stuff as you grow.
Right.
You can't run your business off of how you started it, right? Especially when you add more and more people. So you have to constantly refine your processes, procedures, make it easy. That takes a lot of work, right? And to watch. But typically you start to see a pain point happening, and that's just an indicator of, hey, it's time to change what we're doing. Work then. And great, but no longer does it make sense for how large we are now. And
right.
Definitely someone who can coach too and be very process-oriented, detail-oriented, very analytical for what they're looking at.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, oh, I've got my best call taker. They need to be my manager. Just like we hear, my best tech should be my service manager.
Yep.
Yeah, they may be great at what they do, but it's different at being great at what you do, being able to train other people to get where you need.
Right.
So I think it's a little bit different role. It's not always my absolute best call taker.
Right.
A lot of times it's a lot different.
Oh, yeah.
Very different. Very different.
So once we elevate that person, it's not set it, forget it, right? That
never.
Especially someone that's never done it before. What's the proper way to nurture that person to help them grow into that role? What are some things you recommend, to our members to do to get that person to become successful?
Oh, that's a good question. Sitting here trying to think a lot of stuff. But I think one thing is you really got to go dialed in of diving into numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers tell a story. That's such a big thing. And so many people don't do it, We talk to people all the time, and when we're looking at their analytics and we're looking at it, realizing, does your book calls include cancel calls?
Right.
So many times people think they have call volume problems, and you dig in, it's call booking, but their call booking doesn't show it because maybe they have a high cancellation rate, which Missy talked about. I think it's a lot of teaching them. Missy talked about, looking at your times and your historical data.
Yeah.
That's so huge, and being prepared how you're going to reroute the phones. And based off this data you get, it tells you what shifts you should create. It just tells you such a big story. But I think it's starting with teach them how to dive into the numbers. They got to understand it. It's starting as simple as, what does it cost to make the phone ring?
Right.
What does it cost to do business? It starts out simple, and it gets a lot more advanced. But I think you just start with the baby steps.
Right.
I think it's really numbers.
Baby steps and constant communication.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People want to know where they stand.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad, and people seek feedback, right?
Yep.
So they know am I doing the right thing? Is this good? So I think being there with your team member side by side, helping them through the trenches as they get to become more and more confident, you'll see more and more success out of that.
Yeah.
And I think one-on-ones are really important. When I was on the service side of it, everybody got a report card every week, right? Hey, you were on time this week. Greatly appreciate it. We did like a sliding scale. We hit about 5 different things.
Yeah.
And then the backside of it was just to be able to write, hey, I appreciate you so much and so forth. Gratitude goes so far.
Yeah.
Much farther than just throwing money at somebody and being like, hey, thanks, great week.
Yeah.
People want to hear how well they do. They like to see that. They like to take it home, share it with their spouse or their kids see it. And I think that's rewarding for sure.
Yeah, it is. I like it. You guys have thrown around a lot of different types of KPIs. Like it just came out in the natural course of the conversation. But when you're, coaching a member or it's a manager, what are like 3-5 core KPIs? You're like, we got to get these right or nothing else matters in the call center.
Booking rate, cancellation rate. What is their average ticket?
Yep.
Right? Those are really important. I want to know their call queue time. So how long are they in call queue?
Yeah.
Because if they're being paid to answer the phones, but yet they're only logged into the queue 3 hours of an 8-hour shift, there's a problem there.
Right.
What else?
I'd say those were the key core. The one thing with the call booking is a lot of people don't realize, we look for a 90% when they've been through our classes and they've implemented and someone's held them accountable. We don't want them at 90% some of the time.
Yeah.
Whenever you get to the point where you're doing the quality versus quantity, we're cherry picking.
Yeah.
We expect that number to be down. So you got to understand what your numbers are for the season of your business too.
Right.
So you look at lost calls, right? If you have a ton of lost calls, that's typically because you're in more of your go time.
Yeah.
And so you're strategically booking calls. So you'll see an increase in lost calls. And that's okay if that strategy is in place behind it. But you have to look and make sure that that's why they have the lost calls. Otherwise, they're not building value on the phone. They're not building that relationship with the customer.
Yeah.
Customer doesn't feel confident enough, so they don't book with you. And therefore, you'll find some people that'll have a high lost call number.
Right.
And you know what? That's a training opportunity to get them back on track. And if that doesn't work,
an outbound call. And that's what you left out. Outbound calling. That's a huge one.
You explain why cancellations happen. Why sometimes the booking rate drop down? Are they just getting off the script? What are some common things you see?
Well, seasonality.
Yeah, seasonality.
Yeah.
Like if it's your go time, and you know that you're going to be hammered with higher priority type calls, then those lower priority type calls, we might push those out a number of days for first available.
Yeah.
So we can leave room for the emergency type calls.
Right.
The one thing that always just kills me is I'll hear, members sometimes say like, oh my God, Missy, I'm booked like 3.5 weeks out. And I'm like, you are, because non-emergency calls will fill up your schedule.
Right.
They will wait. And so then you can't get to those higher priority jobs because your schedule's full, right? And they're going to have to work 10 times harder to make up for one of those better just one higher priority type calls. So in that strategy, you've got to know your historical data. You've got to be looking at that to see the seasonality of your business so you can prepare for it and realize that, hey, if everybody's kind of idling right around the same and your booking rate might drop to 68%, but your numbers are through the roof and you're hitting all kinds of, high scores and smashing goals and stuff like that, that justifies, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
I would never panic when it would drop low. I was always nervous when it was really high and we were busy.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because then I'm like, somebody's just slamming stuff on the schedule,
Yeah, that's
But Bob, too, something that Missy and I on the whole CertainPath team trained too is, we know you've been to a doctor's office before. You ever notice when you walk in, the little colored flags top of the door? Mm-hmm. That's a cue to the doctor. What kind of examination is it? So something we train on is we teach something called color codes, just like the color flags. And so it's real important for that call center manager and service manager or sales managers to be meeting each day. And based off call volume, it tells them exactly what all they need to be doing. Mm-hmm. As far as, do we need to be outbounding? Do we need to be pushing low priorities out 3 or 4 weeks? So they've got a set schedule, and it's just an easy tool, man.
Yeah.
It really helps them plan for that. Mm-hmm. That and call capacity planning is just huge.
That's great. You mentioned earlier checklists, like when onboarding and stuff like that. Do you guys recommend that the call centers have other kind of checklists that they follow day by day to make sure certain tasks are being achieved? And if so, what do those kind of look like?
Yeah. Your checklists, again, they go back to all of these things have to be done in order for business to move forward, right?
Yep.
It may have requirements of X number of outbound calls you need to make daily.
Yeah.
Following up on cancel calls, stop loss, reschedules, happy calls, club calls, maintenance calls, So it is their directive to run through the day.
Yeah.
But I also want to know those numbers. I can run a report and see their numbers just like that, right? I do it all day long and would look at it. I knew where we were at.
Yeah.
But so did they. They needed to know, because otherwise, how can you improve what you don't know is where's the, a problem's at,
right?
Something along those lines. So every day when they would turn in their checklist at the end of their shift, they had to put all of their numbers on there too, right?
Like that.
And so then you kind of start looking at, as they're turning that in, sometimes I would take that red pen, make a couple circles and say, hey, what's going on here? Come talk to me,
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to know if they knew why or had a good reason for why something was down, or maybe they were away from their desk for a long time. Like, what was going on? What happened today?
Yeah.
That you couldn't be at the desk to answer those phones.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, checklists provide that very clear expectations for people.
Right.
And so it helps everybody focusing on what needs to be done. Everybody wants to be helpful, but if everybody's doing kind of their own thing, we never align it for what's best for the company.
Sure.
So checklists keep them on point.
They do. And when it comes to checklists too, a lot of people still do paper and pen. I personally like Asana or Trello, a lot of electronic ways. One of the things I'd liked in the early days on the checklist, now you can do it though in most of your software, so you don't have to do this in checklists. So I want to know every time the phone rings, what type of call. We always look at how many leads did we get, how many we book. If we lost it, why did we lose? So we know where to trade.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But what we don't always track is how many calls in general, especially now with spam and robocalls.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people that come to us and say, man, my call taker's saying they're slammed, but got 10 leads today. What were they doing all day? They may have got 100 calls.
Yeah.
But I want to know every time the phone rings what it is, because it tells you a lot too as a call center manager. If I see my techs are calling in constantly, maybe I need to set up a separate service manager line.
Right.
If I see customers are calling all day, wondering how far out, my dispatcher's not staying on top of the job.
Yeah.
If I see there's just so much stuff, I like to track out of area, which area, and if it's a different trade. Because is it that our marketing has the keywords wrong?
Right.
It is. We're spending money on marketing we don't need to. Or what if I decided to start a next trade or in a different area?
I was thinking about.
All my information's right there.
That's great.
And I think you need some of that too for their efficiency during the day.
I love
tracking there as well.
You guys mentioned before when it's time to when you add this service manager, you think about a call center manager. That means because they work together a lot. So what does that relationship look like day to day for you guys? Well, I'd like to get your insight on that. When are they collaborating? What are they talking about?
Well, that heads. Yeah. At first. Yeah. 2 different goals until they get aligned with the company goal.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
At first, until they get aligned with the company goals.
But I think that comes together every morning with your DME,
your huddle.
And huddle. And we talk about what happened yesterday, what's going on today, and the rest of the week. Right. So who's here today? Who's called off? Whether it's call center or technician or who's on vacation for the week, right? It changes the calls that you have to book, who's sold out and so forth like that. Because, the schedule is always changing.
Right.
But same time, I mean, is as much as it's your call center's job to get calls on the schedule, it's your service manager's job to get them off. Right. And get them sold and get them installed. So really, they need to communicate all day long. We know technicians sometimes can blow through calls, and you can have a fully booked board and it's empty by 1.
Oof, yeah.
Okay, well, great communication. If you're like, hey, start moving people up, or as people are calling in today, this afternoon, booking calls for tomorrow, we'll take them today.
Right.
How many more do you want? That kind of deal. So
sure. When you guys, you talk to members of all different sizes, call centers of all different sizes.
Yeah.
What are some of the common? We've talked about a lot here already. So maybe we're just recycling. What's the most common struggles that you see that are really cause significant issues? And maybe, they don't. The owner doesn't know.
Not following the scripts.
Yes.
Right. You see it with probably every single CSR at some point in time. They just start backing off of and taking shortcuts to get through the phone. But you know what? You start to pick that up because you see it in the numbers. You see numbers starting to go down. It's like, hold on. And, there are companies that'll listen to every single phone call that your CSRs will book. And I'm like, I don't know what kind of time you have to be able to do that. I can listen to 3 random calls and tell you exactly where their problems are.
Yeah. Yeah. So not following the scripts is a big one.
Yeah. And what we usually get, though, it's really funny, is, I need help with overcoming objections. And what we find, they didn't follow the script.
Right.
If you'll clear objections where they come when, you don't have them.
Right.
And you have a very low percentage. It's back to the scripts.
Right.
For sure. The other one I hear a lot is, again, they don't want to outbound.
Yeah.
You hired the wrong personality type.
Yeah.
There's 2 different personality types for that.
I will say that it also kind of goes, just circling back to the checklist of turning it in every single day.
Yeah.
Sure.
Honestly, that helps create discipline and accountability, and it gives them structure. And one of the things I think that I did early on, I hate Post-it notes, because what happens? They get stuck on things, they disappear. I had gone in there and there were Post-it notes everywhere, and I'm like, give those to me. Here's checklists. You will turn them in every day at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I understand that from time to time you might forget. You're running out the door. Okay. But if they're not in my box by 8 a.m. or, the next morning, I don't want to have to ask for it.
Right.
Right? They're like, you won't have to, we'll get it for you,
Expectations.
But, when you create that type of discipline, then you just have that higher level of service and expectation, and everybody takes their position more serious, right? And I think that everybody needs to have a little bit of that, because outbounding then, maybe you don't like outbounding, so I get it, but we're going to train to be successful.
Right.
To do it.
Just give it up. Yep.
Yeah, right. It's still expected.
Yep.
And, when you roll out checklists for the first time, people are like, I don't want to do that. I think I felt the same way when Gus was like, I want you to turn in a checklist to me every day. And I'm like,
people think it's my,
I was like, but I'm like, but I do all my notes here, and he's like, nope, I want you to use my checklist. And I'm like, okay. So I ran 2 for the longest time. And then I finally just went with that.
Yeah.
And so I would hand it into him for a long time. And then finally he was like, you don't have to do that anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you. But I still do to this day. Every day I sit down, I make my plan, and I execute that throughout the day and stuff. But it keeps me organized.
Sure.
For the call center, for dispatch, you have so many people.
That's where I was going to go next. Yeah. What are common dispatch things you see?
Well, I removing those Post-it notes, driving them back to the checklist.
Yeah.
So people fly past you all day long. They're like, hey, call this person or do this. And not necessarily can you make somebody else's emergency yours. So I've always coached them on flip that piece of paper over and write out whatever people are asking you to do.
Yeah.
And then when you have time, circle back before the end of the day and make sure you've crossed each one off and handled it, and it's not stuck on a Post-it note somewhere. It hasn't logged off. We have a tendency to look right through Post-it notes and so forth like that. So it starts to teach a little bit of organization for them as well.
Yep.
So I remember I had to terminate a girl that I liked a whole lot, and she was just a hot mess.
Yeah.
And her work was, everything just kind of started going downhill. Tried to get her back on track, and, she was just going through a really rough time in her life. But I will tell you, about 2.5 years later, she reached out to me on Messenger, and she's like, I just want you to know I'm really sorry. She goes, you taught me so much.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And I just want to say I'm sorry, because I know I put you through hell.
Oh, yeah. It's awesome.
But it was nice to say to hear, them reaching back out and saying, hey, thank you so much. Well, that was pretty cool.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm going to say with dispatch, a few things I see a lot is, first, it starts with the call taker.
Yep.
Not setting that dispatcher for success, not asking the right stuff. The other thing I hear is with technology today, as great as it is, again, it doesn't pick up on attitude. And so that's the other thing I hear is, this tech ran through 3 calls. I don't understand, they're priority ones, they were by Rockstar. And then you'll be sitting there talking to them in the service manager's like, oh, they're in a bad mood today.
Yeah.
No one's talking to them.
Right.
You got to talk to them. You got to know their attitude. You got to know their numbers. The other thing I see is the way you have someone set up in an office when a dispatcher's sitting and techs can come up and see behind them. They can see the board, or asking dispatchers how busy, how slow we are. Techs never need that. They can't concentrate on one call at a time.
Yeah.
You're hurting that revenue when you do that.
Right.
Lock your techs out of...
Yes, lock them out.
That's just right.
Lock the door. It's a big deal there. And then the other thing I would say with dispatchers is not knowing their numbers.
Yeah.
I think at any time you should be able to walk into your dispatcher and say, how many installs do I have today? How many service calls? How many priority ones? Got to know your numbers. You got to know if you fit up that emergency.
Right.
If not, we're missing so many opportunities there, revenue opportunities.
That's
huge.
All right, wrapping up.
Yes.
Why do you guys love what you do so much? I mean, you do this every day. You're talking call center. You're taking operational calls. You're dealing with crying people, happy people. It's a lot. Your schedules are bananas. I know, because I try to schedule conference calls with you, and I text you. I'm like, is this really true? Or you believe that book's up? Why do you love it, even though you guys are so busy?
We get to work with each other.
Yeah, to work with me. Okay,
Okay, go on, Missy.
Why do I do it? Why do I love it so much? I think I love it so much because I love to see people succeed.
Yeah.
I like to see the smiles on their faces. I like to see the light bulbs that go off. Been there, done that myself, you know.
Yeah.
You know how good it just feels when you're being successful and, hey, they're able to improve their lives, their family lives, and I just find it really rewarding.
Yeah. Sonya, what about you?
Man, I'll tell you, if we had all day, I could tell the story starting out in the trades, but knowing as a business owner, I didn't know there was people like CertainPath. If I did, I probably would have possibly stayed there at that time.
Yeah.
And, you know, people think when you become a business owner, you're rich and you have flexible time. No, you have to take every call you can all night long. Right. And you have to know how many people's lives you're responsible for. And that's a big stress. It's a big stress. So between seeing some of these people in that position where I was once in my life, and then also getting to see through the milestone days when we started out, how it changed our lives.
Right.
You know, we had people who had never owned a house. They had to rent their whole life, all kinds of things. And just getting to see people buy that first house finally, and finally getting to go on a vacation.
Yeah.
Finally just having a savings account. I mean, just little stuff and seeing again how it impacts lives. I mean, that's gratification. That gives it back to you. If I was rich, we'd be great because I'd never need a paycheck, because when you love what you do and you're passionate about it, it makes you a happier person. It's nice. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I don't care how busy we get.
Yeah.
How can you say no to someone when they're in need?
Yeah.
How can you?
Right.
And just love all our people.
Yeah.
I really do. They're great.
Well, thank you both so very much. I had a lot of fun, and you guys had a lot of great information. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Bob.
Yeah, my pleasure.
The Successful Contractor podcast is part of the CertainPath family. CertainPath builds successful home service businesses and has for over 25 years. We do it by providing contractors with a proven path to success, professional coaching, software solutions, and a member community of 1,000 plus strong. Doubling your sales with a 20% net profit and an inspiring company culture is all possible. Let us show you the way. With CertainPath, success is made certain. Visit www.mycertainpath.com or call 888-909-6604 for more information.